Hello, everyone, and welcome to Journey to Success Radio, a show featuring people and companies who are making a positive contribution to the world. This show will help you learn how to apply success principles in every area of your life so that you can make the most out of your skills and talents and accomplish more of your goals. To find out more about the show, please visit www.journeytosuccessradio.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Journey to Success Radio Network. My name is Tom Too Tall Cunningham. I'm a Napoleon Hill Foundation certified instructor and resiliency expert, helping people to live positively through the many and varied challenges of life. Have you ever thought to yourself, I wish I was like somebody? Well, that's what I think about my guest today, the amazing Tony Rubleski, a very good friend of mine, probably the third or fourth time I've interviewed him, and sometimes I think, I wish I was Tony Rubleski, because he's doing a lot of the cool things that I would like to be doing more of. Tony is president of the MindCapture group. His message is designed to help people capture more minds and more profits. He is an in-demand speaker. He's given hundreds of presentations in the past decade. He's a strategic business coach, a global event promoter with over 20 years experience in the personal development industry. His second book in the MindCapture series went number one in 3 different business categories with Amazon.com and received stunning reviews, including mine, from a wide range of leaders in marketing, sales, psychology, academia, and multiple New York Times best-selling authors. Book number 4 in the series, titled MindCapture, Leadership Lessons from 10 Trailblazers Who Beat the Odds and Influenced Millions, was released in May of this year. I am going to my post office box every day looking for my copy. Tony's work has been featured in many various media outlets ranging from Bottom Line Magazine, the Detroit Free Press, the Fox TV network, ooh, wow, cool, ABC, CNN Radio, NPR, and Entrepreneur Magazine Radio. He has also served as a faculty member with both the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and CEO Space International. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Tom, I am delighted to be here. Thank you so much, sir. And wow, what an introduction, man. I interview folks like yourself that are out there doing great things, and I appreciate that. And hey, you know what? We're going to talk about a lot today. I have adversity as well, so very, very honored to be back on your fine radio show, sir.
Now, can we start off with a question that wasn't one of the ones that you gave me? I want to say that your smile seems to be a little bit wider, and your work seems to be a little bit better and more energetic since you met the amazing Lacey. Is it sexist to say that she's an amazingly beautiful woman and she has really put a little spark in your fire?
Well, Tom, for our audience listening or wherever they might be traveling to, absolutely yes. You mentioned a very special woman in my life named Lacey Moen, and we've been dating very seriously now for about 1.5 years, and very committed to each other. And she also owns a business and is very much into personal development. And we were friends for a couple of years before we started to date. And I thank the good Lord above for meeting her and the relationship we have. So, you know what? It brings a good point to start with the question is who you associate with is of the utmost importance, Tom. And having a healthy, happy relationship with a significant other has definitely helped my career. And we may hit on that today. We all have some adversity and setbacks, and I've experienced quite a bit of those the last few years, which is a good sort of setup to where we're going to go with the book today. Exactly.
And it's a topic right up my alley as well. So let's start. We have, in this age of questionable behavior by leaders, look at the FIFA example with all the arrests recently. What did the 10 unique leaders from your book do differently to follow their passion despite the heavy criticism they received to achieve success and positively influence millions of people?
Well, I think it's a a good second question to transition. The book, Tom, is really based on what I had to call my best interviews. And similar to you, we both meet great people. We're lifelong learners, I had to pull, in my opinion, 10 really, really solid interviews from the hundreds that I've done of what I called and deemed trailblazers. And, trailblazers do things very, very different. By definition, they are people that blaze a trail. Or the second definition, if you look it up at home or on Google or Wikipedia, is they're an innovative leader in a field or a pioneer. And the big, really, I would say, standout differentiator that they all have, and we all have this within us. So, Tom, your audience is go-getters, they're achievers, they're into personal development, which means they're always growing. They have this too, is they are very, very persistent. Now, you and I share a very, very common fandom with a teacher from the past named Napoleon Hill. One of his biggest teaching principles was the power of persistence. It's all over his writings, from the classic Think and Grow Rich to the more recent Outwitting the Devil, but you got to have it. It's a timeless thing. And what was interesting is we dig in more and we look at some of the trailblazers in our time together with your global audience. That's the major, major ingredient they all have, and it has to be there. Some may call it a different name. When I interviewed them face-to-face, many of them were done over the phone that we pulled the book from, but they were tough people to reach, all with unique stories, Tom. Similar to you and I, we each have unique stories. Everyone listening has a unique story, but I'm always trying to find progressions. What are the clues of success? As Tony Robbins taught me as a puppy, success leaves clues. Trailblazers leaves clues that we can learn from, even if we're at a high point right now, if we're comfortable right now listening, or if we're in a down point. And you're going to go through that as a human being on this earth, Tom, all of us, at some point, or you might be going through one of those emotions right now.
Exactly. And sometimes people don't see it because they just see the success. And a lot of times the people we interview have the same attitude, the same smile, regardless of what's going on in their life, good or bad. And so it really helps people to understand that when you see them at the end of their success journey or during their success journey, there was a lot that went on before they got there that most people would not have persisted through, especially with all the criticism that they get from their own family and friends. And so extremely important. So this is a fourth book in your series. Look at you. I've got a series going here. So why did you write this specific book, and why, most importantly, should people read it?
Well, it's a twofold, answer there with a two-part question. The writing for me, I'll be very candid. That's the easiest way to live. The little bonus tip there is to be candid with people. It was therapy. Coming out of a major life change, a divorce a few years ago, with several children involved, and me traveling as a speaker and a writer, Tom, I had my moments of doubt. It's similar to what Napoleon Hill talks about in his great book, Outwitting the Devil. That book touched my soul when I read it right in the middle of my divorce. So it was therapy from the angle that I do reveal in the new book, which you will get if the Canadian Postal Service will let my book get through customs. It will eventually arrive. I know I sent you an electronic copy, Tom, but when you see the physical book, it opens up with really what's been going on the last few years. Not so much about me to go on and drone, but it tells the story. I'll reveal some of it to your global audience, but I really encourage them to pick up a copy or a digital copy. And what we've also done, Tom, is made all the interviews available. So when someone reads the book at the end of each chapter, they can go and listen to the entire audio interview with the Trailblazer I did. So that's kind of another bonus, to kind of skipping ahead there. But the therapy component was, all right, I'm back. I'm in a much healthier position. I feel renewed again. That sort of dark night of the soul, or that season of winter, as Jim Rohn taught to many of us around the world. I went through a couple of years of being in the winter time, Tom. And I know your story very well. I'm going to give you a quick plug and come back here, but your story is amazing. I've had you share my stage at my events because you're an inspiration to millions of people, and we all have that story. I'm always, what I would say as a storyteller, speaker, looking for great stories, and everyone's got one. They just don't know it. So the book transitions into the meat of the gist of it, and why I wrote it is I'm sitting on all these valuable interviews that I have shared with select groups of clients and people throughout the world. I said, look, why don't we put sort of the best 10 that I determine, put them into a book format, and then re-energize the message. Get it out via the printed, the spoken word, and really take these trailblazers, because these interviews are gold, Tom. I mean, you do golden interviews as well, so it's kind of like dual mentorship here, and kind of my choir's preaching yours for a second. But knowledge is power when accessed and applied. Now, that's a variation of what other teachers have taught me. When it's accessed, you have to be able to find it and know it's there. Then you apply it. So I'm looking at all these archives the last couple of years going, what do we do with them? And one of my coaches, on a very casual phone call, and again, there's no accidents. There are daily miracles, or God winks, I call them, suggested kind of offhand, well, why don't you go back through all those interviews and, compile the best of, and what type of research, when you go through them, Tony, that they all share, to not just repackage it, but re-energize the message so that it helps people that are going through the roller coaster of life. So that's, again, why the book was written. Why people should read it, Tom. Again, you're asking sort of the fox guarding the hen house what he thinks. I'll give you my best deep down soul perspective. We all need motivation and positive messages. I will go to my grave, and if people say, well, you're one of those motivational speakers, I say, absolutely. I'm not offended by that. We have a society, Tom, you and I know this, that loves sarcasm. It sells. Being surly, kind of a smart aleck, is in vogue, especially with social media. God only knows with the power of social media where this interview will spread. It will go to places you and I could not have imagined 10 years ago, Tom. But there is still that negative perception that, you know what, oh, I already know it all. You're one of those motivational guys. And I say, absolutely, because we all have down days. I'll say some stuff here that's a little out there. Pigeons poop on my car too. No one's perfect, Tom. Everyone's probably a listener and they're going, yeah, I've had setback. It's part of the human experience, the drama of life. And at different points, that flame flickers a little lower. And unfortunately, for some people, it goes out and they're walking dead. What I mean by that is they've given up on their dream. They've lost all faith. They stop persisting. They let other people around them, like you indicated earlier, family and friends, take them out. They let professionals in the industry talk bad about them or belittle them. I've lived through every one of those things I've just described. Many of us listening, wherever you might be in the world, if it's right now in real time or if you're listening to an audio podcast later or on your iPad or driving, could be a month from now, you have probably experienced many of those things. So to me, motivation is never out of style. And in a world that's very, very interconnected with lots of negativity, it's needed more than ever. Let me repeat that. Positive motivation is needed more than ever, Tom.
Right. More than ever. And you're talking to one of the most positive people on the planet, and I need it more than ever because I have a nice sports car, and birds love to poop on it. And so, I got those same challenges, too. Now, sometimes, Tony, I suck at this because I get so excited about the conversation that it's like minute 44 before I even mention the person's website. So I'm learning as I'm growing. And so please give them your website. And people, like if you're going to buy the book, the best place to buy it is from the author's website. And the author, you often get freebies, signed books, all kinds of nice goodies. So give them the website, tell them how to buy the book, where to reach you, where you're located.
You are brilliant, Tom, and I appreciate you giving me a quick minute here for a shameless plug, and I am unabashed about that. Best place to get it, since you asked, is MindCaptureBook.com. Let me repeat it, MindCaptureBook.com. You will not find it on Amazon. Let me give you a little marketing behind-the-scenes interview here, Wisdom. We are not making it available except through the site. Couple reasons for my fellow authors and speakers and other marketers that are all listening. We're actually looking to make the book available at a later date with maybe a different publisher. I self-publish this for many strategic reasons, but you can only get it through us. Plus, it allows you to get the bonuses that we've made available and access to all the audio interviews that are in each of the end of the chapters. So you can listen to hours of the physical interviews I did many years ago and some that are more recent, Tom. But we send you the physical book. You get a digital book. You also get all the audio interviews. And, again, we've made it very, very easy because this is a different type of book launch. And we may look at possibly reissuing the book down the road. I do have some folks, New York publishers that are very interested. So I wanted to get the message out much sooner than later than waiting any longer, Tom. Because people kept asking, I know you're one of them, when's the book coming out? Give me the book. And, we're all busy. We're like, we got to get this thing out. I was more chomping at the bit the last few months to get it done and release it. But we had to make sure that we had the site and the bonuses ready to go. So that's the best place to get it.
Okay. And I even sent you a message earlier today because I thought, what the heck is wrong with me? I'm looking on Amazon. Am I spelling Rubleski wrong? Is the title of the book wrong? Where the heck is this? What's wrong with Amazon? How come they don't have this book? So, MindCaptureBook.com. MindCaptureBook.com. I'm on the site. Ooh, I like it. I like the parallax design. You got like a gazillion amazing testimonials on there. Again, one day I want to be Tony Rubleski when I grow up. And I'm very well done.
Thank you.
So, excellent. I try not to do any interviews with friends of mine that know Brad Solis without saying something nice about Brad Solis. So I think he's in your book. Can we say something nice about him?
We can. And Tom, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. And here's what I want to throw out. We jest each other because we've known each other for years as colleagues and peers as well. I look at this. I tell people, kind of jokingly at first, but be who you are and celebrate that. I conversely look back a few minutes ago and I complimented you because I know many of the challenges you go through that I don't know if I can handle them. So I look at, you go back to the connection point. Everyone has what I call trailblazer ability, trailblazer skills and gifts. My faith as a believer, my spiritual path, we're all given talents. And I'm amazed at some of the trailblazers, that I get to interview, what they've gone through. But I'm not so much about, hey, let's glorify them, let's learn from them. I ask tough questions, Tom. My interviews, you've heard some of them, and the book goes much more in depth. I don't ask them completely softball questions. And it's not to trick my guests. It's to say, look, tell me when the chips were down, what'd you do next? Or what was your lowest point? How did you get over it? Because we're all on this different journey, at different progression points, I call it. And I went through the last few years, and I talk about it in depth in the beginning of the book, dark nights of the soul, where I almost walked away from this industry. I'm not embarrassed to say that. It's now in the printed word, but I had to really, really fight doubt and fear and say, what am I doing? Because I had a major upheaval in my personal life. And I said, you know what? You got to really do some soul searching here. So not only is the book a confession and therapy in the beginning for me, it's also sort of a, here's where we go now. And these people have inspired me when they had no idea I was having some of the most difficult times in my own life. These trailblazers also motivated me. So it was very much a beautiful blessing to be interviewing some of these people when I was at the lowest point in my life. They didn't know that, Tom. So it's just to physically see the book and how we edited it down and the people that graciously gave me their time and then shared their talents. Now we multiply and we expand. Like we lit the match. Now we burn down the mind or the forest by moving the book around, by doing interviews, by making the books available, the audios. So I know I'm all fired up here, but everyone's got these gifts.
And Brad Solis is amazing, just for the record. He's like a coach, a mentor, a butt kicker, all kinds of things for me, all for free. What a crazy guy. And one of the trailblazers in your book was just announced yesterday as the new head coach of the Buffalo Sabres. Feel bad for the guy, but still good position. Buffalo Sabres.
Well, it's funny. You opened the door on that. I just texted him. He's one of our trailblazers. We call him the Belief Trailblazer, Dan Bilesma. He was the former head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And ironically, in the book, we excerpt some highlights, and the audio is available, obviously, the full interview. I interviewed him about 2 months after he won the Stanley Cup as the head coach. And then, ironically, again, he was just named yesterday the head coach of the Buffalo Sabres. He took a year off. Pittsburgh had let him go. And, he had to do some soul searching, and he was looking around at opportunities. He was coaching the U.S., I think, junior team as an assistant and helping his son's hockey team. But Dan is a class act. And that interview, Tom, many people have said to me, that was your best one. I asked some tough questions. We've been friends for many years. He is not surprised, but he's still very much in awe and very grateful and humbled by his success. And he's got a tough road ahead of him. I watched a press conference last night on Sports Illustrated Networks and BuffaloSabres.com, and he's taken over a very young team. So he went from being king of the hill early on with arguably the top player in the world, Sid the Kid Crosby, to now he's starting with a brand new team in Buffalo. So to catch Dan, interview him and tape it, and to get his wisdom, again, many people have said, Tony, that was your best one. I like to think every guest I interview always leaves a talent, a nugget of wisdom. They're always the best to me. There are certain ones that are favorites, Tom. You and I interview lots of great thought leaders and trailblazers, but it was hard to pick these interviews down to 10. And then Brad Zales, as you mentioned, is one of our bonus trailblazers. But the Dan interview, Bilesma, to get him right after the Stanley Cup, there are things on there that I wouldn't be shocked. An NHL head coach might go, wow, that's really good stuff. And I'm a huge Detroit Red Wings fan, so I even joke in the audio interview when people get the book and hear the full interview in its entirety about how I should send the interview to Mike Babcock, who used to be the Detroit Red Wings head coach, my favorite team. And now he went to, Toronto. So talk about a small world for us hockey fans. You now get my former head coach.
Right. And I've been wondering what he's been thinking of. I would have just signed right back with Detroit. But let's see what he can do with the amazing Toronto Maple Leafs, or Maple Laughs, as my wife calls them. So amazing. So let's get on with this. Now we've bragged about my friend Brad Zales and Dan Bilesma, and amazing people in this book. Now, you selected a very diverse group of trailblazers. When I'm looking at your website, diverse comes to mind. And ranging from religion, you got the author of The Shack. Ooh, I love that book. What else? Sports, you got Dan, you got business and media, and big names. How did you choose them? Because you do interview a lot of big names.
Well, I think what it came down to was, let's look at a range of different people. I didn't want to just have only sales experts or marketing experts or head coaches or political figures, musicians. I wanted to have range to not only show the diversity, but what, regardless of the industry or trailblazer position, can they teach us? So I wanted to expand the reader, he or she who picks up the audio book or they get the physical book or the download, to have them look at other thought leaders, aka trailblazers, the wisdom they teach. Also, these are great people that have good work out there. You can watch them as a head coach. You can read their other books. You can see them at a book signing. You can watch them on television. I want to get behind their stories, which is very rare to do. I never take for granted an interview. I'm always very grateful, and I thank the Lord above that, this talent has allowed me to be very persistent to get the best out there at this marker in time that I can, get to have huge audiences, Tom. John Stossel, for example, used to be on 2020 here in the U.S. and around the globe on ABC networks. He's now got a show on Fox called Stossel, which has 10, 12 million viewers per week. That's huge influence with that digital, channel, and that's, to get him was like, holy cow, we got him. You mentioned W.M. Paul Young, who wrote the book The Shack. That's a work of fiction and spirituality. One of the few interviews where I almost wept multiple times. It was the deepest interview I've ever experienced, and it was like he was speaking directly soul to soul, and what a very gentle man, very kind, very giving. And the miracle of even getting him, that could almost be a story within itself of how the whole interview came to be. It was weeks in the making. He almost didn't see my email, and I get this email right before Thanksgiving, and I'm like, I almost fell out of my bed. I'm like, what? He got back to me? And I think he sold 15, 16 million books. and that's just getting going. And I wouldn't doubt when I interviewed him that movie, the book will become a movie at some point. The technology now exists with the Shack. It's about, God and, forgiveness and dealing with tragedy. But that was another one I'm like, wow, thank goodness we were taping. A couple other Trailblazers, Sally Hogshead. And again, if people want to check this out, I know we mentioned it, but it's worth repeating. Go to MindCaptureBook.com. Again, MindCaptureBook.com. You scroll down, you see all their bios. You see who they are. You get a little bit of their personality. But if you look at like Sally Hogshead, she is really at the top of her game right now. She talks about fascination. She just hit New York Times bestseller list. Really one of the out there in the business space trailblazers doing great work and lots of research on, how do we leverage our skills and talents. And, another one I mentioned is Dave Liniger. I was very, very blessed to have the founder of RE/MAX, yes, the company with the big balloon, world's largest real estate network, write the forward. And Dave Liniger, I know you guys shared the stage at my event in California a couple of years ago, Tom. Dave's lucky to be here. He almost died.
Yes.
And when I interviewed him, he talks about his literally back from the dead story, how he almost couldn't walk for months on end. And to get someone that, has been down that path in real estate and, just the setbacks and how he's overcome them, I still pinch myself when I do these interviews. I'm like, thank goodness, I love what I do. I do my homework, Tom. I will say to people, I put in the hours, the flights, the time to get really good at this, but I'm also still learning. There's different people I still want to interview, Tom, that I intend to get. And they're even tougher to reach, but I'm very persistent, and I'm not afraid to ask. So I want your audience to, if they're listening here, if you're listening, he or she somewhere in the world, you'd be shocked when you ask what can happen. And many times people don't ask. They just say, they would never do that. They're too busy. I can't do that. What were they thinking?
Right.
I'm not qualified. I haven't written a book. I haven't been on this thing or that. My friends would laugh. I just say, you know what? Screw them. Ask. Get forward into progress.
And you mentioned, too, I interviewed Sally myself. That was probably one of the most exciting ones I ever done. She's also a Hall of Fame speaker, an amazingly incredible lady. And then Dave Liniger, his story, when I spoke at your event, and he was there, but when I interviewed him for my radio show, I was weeping. He shouldn't even be here. It's only because he's so darn stubborn and positive that he's here. And he had a good team around him. And here's a man that's he's read Think and Grow Rich 35 times.
Yeah. And those are just, some of the folks, I gave a few a little bit more highlight. We interviewed Seth Godin, Brian Tracy, Ben Gaze III, who really, I think if there is a dark horse in the book, Ben Gaze III will be it. Just his story, I kid you not, a little teaser here. He was directly mentored by Napoleon Hill 2 years before Hill died. Ben met with him, he was mentored over the phone and face-to-face. He hired literally Zig Ziglar to work for him, and him and Zig Ziglar traveled the globe doing speaking dates for years. You can't make this up. And I've had Ben at my events. I've interviewed him, obviously, but he is sort of the last man standing that can verify what really went down. He was there with the old traditional masters as like Earl Nightingale and Zig and Napoleon Hill and William Patrick Penn. I know I'm name dropping here, but the veterans listening will shake their head and go, those are some very well-known leaders in the industry. So, I definitely had some different reasons of how I picked the Trailblazers. Again, it was not easy, Tom. When you're going through over 100 interviews, you're like, man, where do we start? But again, it's a good problem to have.
It is a good one. So, again, some shameless promotion. MindCaptureBook.com. Go there. Now, after you go there, quickly grab a pen, because this next question, you are going to be writing down things. In the book, you reveal 7 key characteristics that these trailblazers all have in common. Everybody get your pen and paper ready. All right, go. What are they, and why are these 7 characteristics so important?
Well, here we go. The 7 are this, and No particular order, like one is better than the other, but the first one that I identified was intense curiosity. So the first one is intense curiosity. I'll list them, and if we have time, Tom, I might hit a few of them if you'd like.
Please.
Second
I got my
is
pen
persistence.
handy.
Oh, there you go. So the first one is intense curiosity. The second is persistence. That's come up a lot, but it's important. Persistence. Number 3 is vision. Number 4, they are lifelong learners. Number 5, they are problem solvers. 6, they focus on their strengths. And number 7, they have thick skin. So, roll call. And this is just a small preview, folks. You should just say and dive into the book. There's a lot more explanation, but these are just a few of the 7 key that every one of them possesses. Whether they know it or not, I identify them. The curiosity, number 1, 2, persistence, 3, vision, 4, lifelong learners, 5, problem solvers, 6, focus on strengths, and 7, thick skin.
Nice. Can we talk about thick skin? I like thick skin.
Well, it is your show, and I'll let you guide the train, my friend. So you ask about the 7th characteristic, thick skin. This, to me, is very close cousin of persistence. And thick skin is, really immunity in handling criticism properly. Let me repeat that. Immunity or handling criticism properly. Let's face it, every one of these trailblazers, maybe not in the interview I conducted, but the underlying tone was they've all had setback. And when you have setback, it's very easy, because we've all had this in our lives, is to quit, give up, have our negative self-talk. I call it goal setting in reverse. Doubt is really goal setting in reverse. Turn against us, and we start to question who we are and our talents. Thick skin, the higher you go up as you blaze your own trail. Everyone listening, this is applicable to all of us, and you and myself included, Tom. The more you advance, count on criticism showing up. It's maybe not directed always at you, but it's people talk about you. They might whisper things. They might, when you walk out of the room, laugh. And many times it's those closest to you. It's sort of the dirty laundry of our industry, personal development, Tom, which you and I are rabid fans, and this is my full-time passion, this industry, that is often not talked about. It's almost like people think, oh, they're just going to ignore the boogeyman in the room, and, because your life is improving and you're going after your dream and your goals, that your family and friends are going to line up and just say, yay, and applaud you and throw roses, and we support you. Sorry, let's stop the press. The opposite happens with a lot of people that are in your circles. Here's why. Not that your family and friends are bad by any means. Their intentions, while meaning to be good, are also very counterproductive in many instances. Not always. I know I'm talking generalization here. But you will find, as you move up and you begin to accomplish things, people will get jealous as well. They will not like you changing. They will not understand the growth. You won't understand it either. Let me be very deep here, Tom. As you grow, you'll many times get confused, and you might think, well, maybe I should not do this, or maybe I'm thinking too big. And that's where having thick skin is so important, is to absorb the growing pains. There it is. There are 2 words that should go very close together, growing pains. It's a 2-sided coin. It's beautiful. It's powerful. It also is, on the other side of the coin, Tom Cunningham, painful at times. But the thick skin, the persistence, the vision, the focusing on where you're going, those other components, characteristics I've identified, they set up sort of that secret formula or that recipe to push you on when you feel like quitting. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. I love it. Man, I love having you on my show. You get me all excited, and I'm excited to start with. So pretty cool. Recently, just I think a few weeks ago, there was a lot of the sermon at church was about our instant everything society, short attention spans. If a website doesn't load in like 0.003, some silly amount, I think 2 seconds, people will stop watching it. We're into short attention spans. Give it to me now. And so it's almost the reverse of patience, productive habits, daily persistence. Why are those traits so especially even more valuable and necessary now in this instant everything society we're living in?
Well, it's a very deep question, and I'll do my best in respect of time to give some value here for the global audience. To me, many of the habits that we talked about, the patience, you just listed a couple of them, productive habits, you've got to be persistent each day. They're not an easy sell, and here's why. In a world of Amazon point and click, instant access, texting, Snapchat, social media, our phones, we are spoiled. And some folks listening to this interview, Tom, wherever it may move and flow to pockets of the world we can't even see right now as we tape it live, we don't know where it's going to, but many people, I'm going to make a bold assumption, have access to a cell phone. They have clothing, they have electricity, and if you've got those basic components in food and you're, have a good, healthy mind, if you're listening still and you're into personal development, you are far, far ahead. What happens, though, is with all this choice and instant everything, people just assume, most of society, well, I can hit my goal like in a day. Or you know what, it's going to take me 6 months. And if they don't hit it in 6 months, they quit. Or if they even get to 6 months, Tom, they quit a month or two in, or an hour or two into trying to go after the goal because they just don't have the patience. And it's a very tough sell for those reasons that I've mentioned. But also, people, with social media and their phones can look at others that are successful and just assume, it was easy for them. They didn't have to work hard to get there. They had a friend in the business. They're better connected. They're better looking. And what I loved about these interviews in the book, these Trailblazers tell me, hey, we didn't have all those advantages. Seth Godin basically came out in one of the interviews and said to me, for 5 years, he really struggled. He was near bankruptcy. This is one of the top business minds in the world, business bloggers. Seth Godin? Really? That was like almost falling out of my chair. You look at, for example, John Stossel had major, and still has to this day, stuttering problems. And, he's one of the, on television, one of the most notorious news journalists. He's won multiple Emmys. He's been, on the air with some of the biggest names in media. He's interviewed the best. And this is a guy that could have stuttered uncontrollably live. Imagine that in front of millions and millions of people. He had to fight that demon, and he still has to fight it. And, everyone's got setbacks. Why I do these interviews is I love what I do, Tom. I love to share knowledge with people all over the world. If someone says, what is your why? Here it is. To share positive information with millions of people per year. What we're doing right now, Tom. When I interview authors, they interview me. I do lots of media appearances, next few weeks with the new book launch. You're one of the first interviews amongst many coming up. But I don't know, unless I ask the questions, what makes them tick. And I want to find out not only the good, that to me is easy. I want to dig down below the hood into their mind when that moment of doubt almost took them out. And then what did they do? What was the bridge over that doubt over to the other side of their mind that got them to what I call the promised land, where they persisted and blazed a trail? That to me is where the gold is at, is in that middle between that bridge.
Nice. Man, I love interviewing you. So, because you and I, when we're on a call, we could probably do a 3-day interview. Let's have one or two more questions. The one that I think is cool, because it is something I hadn't thought of in this concept before. Obviously, you and I are a big believer in the power of positive thinking. I have a PMA tattoo, positive mental attitude. But you combine it with something new, something you describe as option-based thinking. What do you mean by option-based thinking in combination with a positive mental attitude?
Well, PMA is essential. And I think as I've gotten down the road of life more, I've been blessed to have, as we're doing an interview now, I'm 42 years of age. I know people say, don't tell them your age because you date the interview, but here's the deal. The more we're blessed to live each, chronological year, you get perspective. And I think, looking at my 20s and 30s, looking back in the rear view of life a little bit, I was always like, yeah, we'll figure out a way. My positive attitude, my goals, they'll push me through. What I realized, that's great for a while. However, you're going to hit physical, real walls. And when those walls appear in your plan or your goals, what are you going to do to move around the wall, climb over the wall, or punch a hole through the wall, or figure out a plan to have someone take you around the wall or build a wall yourself to get over it and jump over it?
Right.
I call that option-based thinking. And it's, I'll give credit where credit is due. It's one of our trailblazers. It's a concept I borrowed pieces from, who's by the name of Brian Tracy. And people go, oh, Brian Tracy. And if you don't know who Brian Tracy is, this is a great introduction to learn his material and listen to the interview. It took me 3 years to get him on the phone. So, yes, I am persistent. The point being, Tom, is option-based thinking is you sit down with a pad of paper, and Brian calls it mind storming. We start, what are 20 ways that I could find extra money to fund my business or to grow it? And you just let your mind go, and you start, I'm going to put the music on for 30 minutes. And you might find the first 10 answers you write down, you physically write it down. There's kinesthetic proof that when you write it, it anchors in your subconscious. You write it down, then you go, oh, boy, number 11 is really hard. What do I do? And you sit there and you think, well, that's maybe a dumb idea. No, write it down. And if you blast through it, you come up with 30 ideas to finance your business or grow it. Then you go back when you're done with that half an hour window, or maybe you say, I've only got 15 minutes to do it. You set the parameters, you open your mind, and you let the pen capture the ideas. Then you edit it back and go, wow, there's like 3 or 4 really good ideas I haven't thought of, because you opened your mind to possibility. You didn't shut it down with negative self-talk. As a child would do, you thought with no boundaries. And in this option-based thinking, you now have resold yourself that you have more options than you thought. Then you narrow it down to the top 3 or 4, and here's the big step, that you can implement right away. You can take action towards, okay, you know what? I didn't realize that my brother-in-law owns a company. He's gotten a bank loan, for example. I'll give him a call when I hang up, with my other appointment this afternoon. You write down, call brother-in-law at 4:30. That's a first forward momentum action step. Then maybe look at one of your other things you wrote down, your options. You go, all right, here's another really good option. One of my new clients, is a bank. Duh. Give them a call. Drop them an email shortly today. Hey, I'm thinking about growing my business. I know that we've just started to work together. Maybe you can help me. Do business with those that you know, like, and trust that also support you. So it's reframing the question. And so many folks, and I've been guilty of these things, so that's why I can write and speak on it. I've committed every one of these sins. And we look back and go, well, these trailblazers are different. They don't have any problems or sins. Yes, they do. Okay? So you stop and you go, why am I asking the wrong question? What are my options? I want everyone to write that down. If you're on the treadmill, you're driving your car, you're listening to us on an airplane flight, this is a powerful question. What are my options? 4, and then you put in, what is the challenge or the opportunity? What are my options for growing the business? What are my options for getting out of debt? What are my options for gaining 5 new clients by the end of next month? And when you do that powerful re-anchoring and ask the positive question, options will present themselves. Then you narrow it down to 3 or 4 and you move on them right away.
Right. Nice. I like this option-based thinking, and it gets those 60,000 daily thoughts thinking of the how instead of the how not. And when you start thinking of the how, your brain is going to fire off all kinds of ideas, and sometimes you're going to be like, wow, where did that come from? That is possible. I am going to do that. And so when you start with those option-based thoughts, you're way, way ahead of those who are starting with the this can't be done, I can't do it, any of those kind of thinking. So option-based and positive mental attitude, combine those two, and you can eliminate a lot of those 60,000 daily thoughts that are of the negative variety.
Tom, let me give you an example. Let me give you a quick example. When I interviewed Dan Bialzone, he's rookie head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins. He takes over in February of 2009. Penguins are tied for the last playoff spot, 8th position. In the interview, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit what he said, but here was the gist on this thought. He was talking about when he sat down with Sidney Crosby in his office. And he said, you know what, I watched Pittsburgh. I was the head coach of their minor league team in Wilkes-Barre before that. And I thought, you know what, not a disrespect to the old coach. I'm just giving listeners some context. But we want to be aggressive, in-your-face style hockey. We want to play to our strengths. that was an option he brought in as a rookie head coach in the middle of the season when the Penguins were tanking, was let's go back to what we're really good at. So he started to ask better questions. We want to be known as an in-your-face, high-scoring team so that when we enter a building, teams know they better bring their A game because we're going to be on the attack. We're going to be going at them because we got two of the best players in the world, arguably, Sidney Crosby and Malkin, the Russian player. So they were playing defensive-style hockey. If you look at it in hockey circles, he completely asked, what are the new options we have? Why are we not exercising those? The rest is history. It's been written. They went on and had the most historic run. They won a couple of Game 7 to beat my beloved Red Wings in Detroit in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and no one said they could do it. He did it. And they played very much determined, in-your-face hockey. That was an option he chose to exercise. Instead of focusing on what they weren't good, he said, what are we really, really good at that we are not capitalizing on? They went on the offense, and they won the Stanley Cup.
They did. All right, so to end up this call, because again, you and I on a call, we could be here till Sunday, and
True.
It's Friday now. Let's give people the website other than the book, because we sold that book. If anybody's got this far and they're not buying that book, I'm going to come and kick you in the back pocket, between the pockets. So we got them on the book, and they're buying the book. You better buy that book, MindCaptureBook.com. But let's get to your MindCaptureGroup.com. While we were talking, or while you were talking, I signed up for your newsletter.
Thank you.
Suggest people do that as well. So go to tell them Mind Capture Group, some of the other things on there, because that is a great website as well with way more information about you and where you are.
Tom, I gotta thank you. Let me throw out one other angle that I think could be of value. You and I are big Facebook users and fans. Definitely go over and friend request in. MindCapture is my fan page. So if you're looking up, daily updates and nuggets, MindCapture, you can friend in there. My personal page, please do me a favor if you want to get daily updates and nuggets and actually have a better shot of seeing the posts that I put up of value. It's Tony Rubleski. So you go to Facebook. .com/T Rubleski. And again, if you Google my name if you get the book, you'll see my name on the cover on the website. Make sure you mention you heard the interview with Tom Cunningham or the radio show. Then I can identify you and friend you in. Because, the thing is with Facebook, you get so many different requests, and you want to make sure that people are the right match for your message. But I put up a lot of stuff each day, as you know, Tom, a mind nugget of the day. And, the e-letter, that message of value goes out once a week, so we will not bomb you with emails every day, just a preference, an option. But, there's just some different ways you can engage, and stay in touch. And I monitor social media, I interact with people, and I just love to keep learning. So, Tom, huge thank you. I can't believe it's been 45, 50 minutes. This seems like it's been 5 minutes. We're just chatting by a dock, having a drink,
Right. And remember, everybody who's listened this far is buying the book. So MindCaptureBook.com, MindCaptureGroup.com is a great website. Google Tony's name, doesn't have the easiest to spell last name, Rubleski. There you go, just spelled it for you. Find him. I don't care how you find him. Mind Capture Book, Mind Capture Group, Google his name. But in this day and age, and with the challenges people are having and overcoming, you really need to know about Tony, know Tony, and read his books. So go to all those websites, but not before you buy the book. Thanks so much, Tony. Always, we do this at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Now I'm so excited. I got to go sell somebody something or go make a pitch to somebody. I got to go get ready.
Well, Tom, you are definitely welcome, my friend, and thank you. It's always a pleasure. Keep up the great work you're doing, man. You're a trailblazer, and your reach is far and very, very important.
Thank you so much. Again, MindCaptureBook.com. Buy it now. Have an amazing day, Tony. Take care.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Journey to Success Radio. If you or anyone you know would like to be interviewed for the show, email Tom at tom2tall.com for details.